Hello friends. Welcome. Today we will recap 2021 action thriller film, Nobody. Spoilers alert. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. The movie starts in an interrogation chamber. Hutch Mansell, who is bleeding and injured, is shown feeding a cat tuna and then he light a cigarette. The detectives ask him who is he? He replies, I am nobody. The movie then flashes back a few days. Hutch is seen to live a normal life, that include his morning workout, daily journey to his job that he doesn't seems to be very interested, and his constant failure to catch the garbage truck on Tuesdays. He is married to real estate agent Becca. And he has 2 children, a son named Blake and a daughter Sammy. Blake doesn't appear to like of his father, and Hutch and Becca have been apart for some time. One night, as Hutch is checking on his kids, he looks in Blake's room and sees his son gesture towards downstairs, as there has been a break-in. Hutch quietly goes downstairs to find a couple, Luis and Lapita, trying to rob the house. Lapita spots Hutch and aims her gun at him, and he calmly tells her to take the money from the cash bowl in the kitchen. The two also demand Hutch's watch and wedding ring, but he only lets them take the watch. As they try to escape, Blake tackles Luis and locks him in a hold. Lapita approaches them with the gun, and Hutch appears to get ready to swing at her with a golf club, but he stops himself and tells Blake to let Luis go. He does, and Luis punches him in the face before he and Lapita flee. The cops arrive later, with Hutch feeling guilty for what happened, and both Blake and the responding officer criticizing Hutch for not acting. When Hutch arrives at work, Charlie, Becca's brother, lends Hutch a revolver to defend himself, that he puts in the refrigerator. Michael Ironside, Hutch's employer and father-in-law, speaks to him about the event at work. Later, Hutch uses the radio to communicate with his hidden brother Harry. He claims that he saw that Lupita's gun was empty and that this is how he knew not to engage the robbers. Harry tells him that he did good and not to do something stupid. Hutch then goes to a nursing home to visit his father David, a retired FBI agent, who remarks that he doesn't look okay well. Hutch goes home but he can't shake the feeling of not doing anything for his family when they needed him. When Sammy mentions her kitty cat bracelet is missing, Hutch figured the robbers took it. He immediately leaves and take a bus. He goes to David's place as he sleeps to get his old FBI badge and gun, but David sees him, and Hutch just says he has to take care of something. Remembering a tattoo on Lupita's wrist, Hutch goes to several tattoo parlors to ask around, and at last he finds a shady one. The men in there try to intimidate Hutch until one of them notices a tattoo on his wrist that looks like a pair of cards. The man thanks Hutch for his service and gets out of there as quick as he can. The tattoo artist realizes Hutch means business and he points him in the direction of who got the tattoo. After discovering Luis and Lupita's residence, Hutch enters it. They give up the watch when he pistol whips Luis, but they don't have Sammy's bracelet. Hutch then sees that the two are parents to a sick baby, and they beg him to leave. Hutch goes out in the rain and angrily punches a brick wall. Hutch then gets on a bus heading home. A group of drunk men crash their car, and enters in the bus, and they begin to harass the other riders, including a girl who is traveling alone. Hutch has the bus driver step out so he can take care of them. He begins a fight with the men, who get a few good hits on him, but Hutch starts to give them a hard time. They pull a knife on him and stab him in the side, but he keeps going and stabs a few of them before he is thrown out the window. Hutch manages to get back on his feet and re-enter the bus, and the girl leaves thanking him. He then resumes the fight. One of the men, Teddy, grabs Hutch's gun and tries to shoot him when the rest of his friends are down, to which Hutch grabs a pole off the bus, and disarms Teddy, and then hit him with the pole until he cracks his windpipe. Teddy starts to suffocate but Hutch does a tracheotomy to keep him breathing. He then walks home to find Becca still awake. She sees him beaten, and knows what he's been getting into, as she knows Hutch's past life. As she patches up his stab wound, he notes to her that they haven't been close in so long, and it's been bothering him. At a nightclub in town, mobster Yulian Kuznetsov shows up, does a dance, and meets with some other associates over the security of their shared fortune called the Ibsak. The others doubt Yulian's capabilities due to his penchant for dancing and other oddities, But Yulian proves he is not to be messed with when he the handle of a broken martini glass and slashes an Obsak shareholder in the face for looking at him wrong, and then slashing his throat. The others toast to his death because it means more money for them. Yulian then gets a call from the hospital, where he finds Teddy, his younger brother. The doctors tell him that he has suffered permanent brain damage. He violently interrogates Teddy's buddies over what happened to him and who is responsible for it. Harry calls Hutch and informs him that Yulian has noticed him and that he is dangerous. In order to learn more about Yulian, he advises Hutch to go see a man by the name of the barber. When Hutch arrives downtown, he discovers that the barber was waiting for him. He hands Hutch a file on Yulian that highlights his aggressive nature and the fact that the Obsak is in charge of guarding millions of dollars in mob cash. Yulian's henchwomen dig up whatever information she can find about Hutch. She blackmails her FBI informant with unflattering photos of him, so he digs through the records and discovers highly sensitive information on Hutch. The henchwoman flees and leaves Yulian on his own when she learns that Hutch was once a brutal killer. Then he issues a command to every guy under him to go after Hutch and capture him alive. He notices 3 automobiles pulling in simultaneously and parking across the street from his house as the Mansells get ready for supper. He tells Becca and the kids to hide in a panic room in the basement because he knows trouble is approaching. As the shooters enter the residence, he then turns off the lights. Hutch continues to battle them, killing the majority of them with shots and stabbings before being tased in the neck. He is placed in the trunk by the shooters as they get ready to return to Yulian with him. Hutch, however, awakens inside the trunk and opens it. He gets a fire extinguisher and opens the back seat after realizing he can't simply roll away, dousing the car in flames and sending the assailants flying. One of Yulian's men is still alive as Hutch emerges from the back and discovers him bleeding out while being pinned under the car. Hutch explains to the man that he was once an auditor, which is basically the kind of hitman that everyone knows to be feared. Hutch contacts David and cautions him to be careful as he runs back to his house. Sammy's eyes are then covered so she won't see the multitude of dead bodies inside the house as he frees his family from the panic room. Becca then requests that Hutch make sure he returns to them after sending her and the children to a secure location. The gunman's remains, along with one who is barely still alive, are gathered by Hutch and brought to the basement. When he recalls his most recent mission, where he had to kill a man who was stealing money but who begged for his life, Hutch understood the man was sincerely sorry for what he had done and let him go. He eventually located the man and discovered that he was happily married with 2 children. Hutch acknowledged that his decision to retire and settle down was motivated by jealousy. Then, as he leaves to take care of other business, he douses the area in kerosene and sets the entire house on fire. He then steals his neighbor's car and goes to his boss. Hutch offers Eddie with a bag of gold bars to buy the property. Charlie tries to assault Hutch because he believes he will lose his job as a result of this, but he only manages to get punched in the gut. Eddie accepts the offer and collects the gold. Hutch begins to alter the space and lay booby traps all over the place. Then, he goes after the Obsak. And after killing every guard there, he burns all of Yulian's money. In the meantime, 2 of Yulian's thugs visit the nursing home where Hutch left David. They attempt to shoot him when he is napping, but David is ready and kills one of the bad guys with a shotgun before smothering the other. Hutch goes to Yulian's nightclub and has a meal there, while Yulian performs on the stage. The gunmen surround Hutch until he reveals that he has a claymore mine strapped to his finger. Yulian asks his men to leave so Hutch and he can talk. Hutch tells the mob boss that he destroyed all he had. When Yulian discovers the Obsak has vanished, he loses his cool. Hutch leaves the bar, and waits for Yulian. Yulian and his men starts to chase Hutch. Hutch takes them on a high-speed chase through the streets, killing a number of men before returning to the warehouse. The bad guys arrive at the warehouse and start shooting at Hutch. He is then surprised by both Harry and David, who came to help Hutch. They shoot, stab, and blow up multiple goons, getting them to step over the booby traps such as a mechanism that fires bars to impale the henchman or another that blows them up. The 3 are then left with Yulian, who vows to get Hutch's whole family. Hutch then grabs the mine and tapes it to a bulletproof glass window. He starts running toward Yulian and pulls the pin, blasting Yulian against the wall and killing him. Hutch thanks Harry and David for their help but has them leave just as the cops arrive. He then finds the cat and takes it with him. Movie then cut back to Hutch in interrogation, where he still only tells the detectives that he is just nobody. The two then receive phone calls, where nothing is heard or stated, but probably some influential person on the other side asks them to let Hutch go. 3 months later, Hutch and Becca are looking at a new house. While the real estate agent is showing them the house, she gets a phone call for Hutch. He answers it, and while nothing is heard again, it's clear that someone is still after Hutch. He and Becca then ask if the house has a basement. In the closing scene, Harry and David are driving a van, and David asks, "Why can't we just fly there?" Harry replies, "With this luggage? And there are lots of arms in the van." They both laugh and keep driving. The end.